How's it sound? Sound okay? OMG. Wow. Well, then, that was something. How's everybody tonight? Sort of an interesting sunset thing. Tonight's beverage is some Cabernet from Chile. But it's not too chilly here. That's pretty funny. So, this probably won't be a long one. I wonder if I could make this look like a lavalier, so I'm not holding it like some sort of a, I don't know, whatever. Maybe I can do it like an airline pilot. How about that? Let's try that. You may be witnessing a new, yeah, it's a little too foggy for the green flash. This is a little loose. Wait a second. This actually has potential. So, this way, like Donald Trump, I get to have two hands to drink my wine. So tell me a story. Where is everybody tonight? Cheers to your Chardonnay, Linda Wiedelson. What is the temperature where you are? Somebody just put up a number. Not that I'm rubbing it in or anything. This is kind of like a thing. This is a little bit. It's a little bit like a like an airline pilot or something. I'm the sunset traffic controller or something. Sonoma Plaza, I know where that is. Carrie, where are you on the plaza? Are you having wine? Are you walking your dog, Lakota? Ladies and gentlemen, Carrie Goldman Schwartz is a fabulous Buddhist woman that I know, with a really cool dog. 15 degrees. That's effing cold. Excellent, Carl. Vodka Tana. What kind of vodka, sir? I know that almost any kind. 25, warmish. Dear God. It's a heat wave up there in northern Vermont, the Green Mountain State. Dog walk. She's walking her dog. She's walking Lakota. That's very nice. How can you type and walk? It's impressive. You might have some wine when you get home. Absolute. Well done, sir. Excellent. Yes, Mr. Snodgrass. It's about that temperature here, a little cooler than that, actually. You're a little hotter. How are you feeling, man? I think you were battling the the virus made its way into your world. Are you okay? Ish? I hope so, my brother. David and I went to the same high school, Coral Gables Senior High. Graduated in 19 basically. It's super crowded here in town tonight, although I think I'm going to brave it and go in and try to find a seat at a restaurant. Of course, when I say super crowded, it's the one street. Better tire out fast. Well, sir, I could say something, but I won't. But make sure you rest up, okay? Better's the right direction, as you might imagine. Certainly not something I would like to experience, that's for sure. That is for sure. Yes, we are. We're born in the 50s. It's a trip, isn't it? When I talk to my kids, it's sort of an interesting conversation, to actually say, well, when were you born? Oh, I was born in 2002. Wow. I wasn't. But we have perspective. We have the 60s and the 70s and all that great music in the 80s and the 90s, which is nice. This will be fun. So for those of you that don't know, I'm in Mexico. San Pancho, Nayarit, Mexico. I never thought years ago that it would be a place that I wanted to come to. Very different. I kept thinking of Tijuana and Ensenada. This is different than that. I've managed to end up in a spot that's ridiculously great, really. Actually, let's do this. Since the sun's down, we're not have to look at that. Let's look at the beach. See if I can reposition myself that way without getting in the way of everything else. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you might be able to get. There you go. Where am I? Can I sit? I guess I can sit here. I guess I could turn the laptop so I can see. Have my little monitor system. I have to thank Todd Boston for making this possible, actually. That's crazy. The drinking age is 1999 now. Well, Prince would be. One of the things about Mexico is I'm awfully lucky to have any Wi-Fi, any connection at all, really. Definitely a first world problem. And yet, 5-10 minutes ago there was no way to do this. But it came back at the right time. It came back. There was a little a Mercury in retrograde god that said, well, you can show them the sunset tonight, boy. So I was able to do that. Is it working now? Looks like it is. Says it is. I will assume that it is. Play a couple more songs and say goodnight. I have to say, I love that you all are here. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Carrie. All right, here we go. Let me interrupt this. Willa Downs, you saw her just comment. She also went to Coral Gables High. It's a reunion tonight. She was in the band. Can you guys hear the waves? you actually go to Google and you type in William Tell Overture, Jeff Oster Choral Gables, I think you would find a link to that performance from my 1975 Coral Gables High School Band, and it's ridiculous how good it is. I have it up on my SoundCloud account. If you ever take a moment to go to Google, William Tell Overture, Jeff Oster, see if it comes up. And when you listen to it, I want you to know that it is a high school band. It's ridiculously good. All right. Mr. Snodgrass asked for some Bill Chase. For those of you that don't remember Bill Chase, he was a lead trumpet player, which means he played screaming high notes. It's with Maynard Ferguson and a few other bands, and he had his own band called Chase. That was until he died in a plane crash, of course. And one of the things that Bill Chase would do is his horn section was, I think, 4 trumpets only. And one of his albums is called Pure Music. And there's a song called Twinkles. It's a beautiful ballad. So I'm going to do that one. It's one of the ones, because I certainly can't play as high as that guy did. So I'm going to do the ballad part. It's called Twinkles. twinkles. Okay, now that my gallon of wine is gone, I'm going to play one more. And it will be a Latin song, Besame Mucho, because why not? Before that, I'm going to play with a little lighting. Yes, sir, that would be the place. Billy Marcus, the one and only. Unbelievable, that quartet. Also, Joe Donato. And maybe you heard me earlier play Chuck Mangione's Feel So Good years ago. A place called the Checkmate Lounge down in on US 1. Gap Mangione, Chuck's brother, would play there quite a bit. Let me play with some lighting here for a second. Because I'm a complete stoner, really. Of course, I no longer have any retinas. Oh well, who needed those? If good lighting effects could actually help. What's a little blindness between good friends, really? There you go. I feel sparkly all of a sudden. Sparkly. Well, I think that's about it. I For those of you that are still hanging in here, I've been playing the trumpet for 56 years. And the reason I'm still playing today is, well, if the lasers were behind me, you would never see the little dots. Actually, I made it lower, and it still has enough spread where it doesn't go right in my eyes, like right now. Seems a little better. It's actually kind of more diffuse. And, I'm talking to Mr. Snodgrass and Willa and all that here, Willa Downs, Willa Allgare, nay Allgare, or however they use those words. And the reason I still play today is because of our band director, Uncle Willie, William Ledoux, the late, great William Ledoux. I'll leave you with a couple of Uncle Willie stories. There were many. Back in the day, back in 1975, we had a marching band of 200 people. And it would be about 100 of us marching and about 100 of us, maybe 150 marching and maybe 50 majorettes and cavalets. And we were the Coral Gables Cavaliers. We had these beautiful, crazy, like tunics, and we had a black, wide-brimmed hat with white ostrich feathers. And Uncle Willie used to do the choreography for the Orange Bowl halftime shows. So all of his bands would not only march in the Orange Bowl parade, but we would also, get to be a part of the halftime show, which was kind of cool. That was one of the cool things. Another cool thing that Uncle Willie would do is he made it a point to take almost every one of his bands on some sort of international trip. So when I was there, I think it's a sophomore, 1973, we went to Europe, had a big carnival and raised a bunch of money. He took 200 teenagers to Europe. It was ridiculously great. It was England and France and Holland and Belgium and Germany. We played a concert under the Eiffel Tower. We marched with the local band in Holland, Ralta, Holland. We played a concert on the grounds of Warwick Castle. It was just ridiculously awesome. Stayed in Birmingham and Coventry. Well, actually, we stayed in Coventry, but me and a guy named Joe Healy, Tom Healy, and a few other guys hopped a double-decker bus and went to Birmingham and got so drunk. I mean, we went to some British pub and we just drank all this beer, and we made it back in time on the bus back to the hotel without getting busted for that. Although there were some moments on some of the state band trips up to Lakeland and Daytona, where I would stay in a room with a bunch of dudes that would smoke pot. It was fabulous. Randy Holly, another one from Coral Gables. There he is, my bestie. Randy also wasn't in the band, but he went to Gables High as well. And I would stay in this room and we'd smoke a bunch of pot, and we'd put these towels in front of the door and stuff, and we'd take a stick of incense and put it in the light switch by the door. And after curfew, Uncle Willie came and knocked on the door. So of course I opened it, and just a crack, and a forest fire of marijuana smoke poured out of the room, and he goes, "What's going on here in this den of iniquity? It's past curfew. Go to sleep." Thank you, Uncle Willie. So that's what we did. That was kind of cool. He was great. I used to, when I was in the band, they had these officers in the band, and I was the quartermaster. And what the quartermaster responsibility was in the band was the band would take a bus to the football games. And the quartermaster was in charge of bringing things like all the drums and the tubas and all the bigger instruments and a bunch of ice for the water and all that stuff for the band while we'd sit in the stands. And we went in a separate truck. So me and a couple of my quartermaster buddies, well, I was the quartermaster, I had the helpers. In the back of the truck, they would cover it with a tarp. So we would always get at least 1 6-pack of beer. And under the tarp, as we drove to the game, the high school game, we would make sure there was no beer left before we got to the game. So that was also quite wonderful. So back then, Uncle Willie basically had almost every year like one of the best, if not the best, bands in the state. I can't describe how much inspiration and how inspirational this guy was for so many. I think I know at least five people that became band directors because of him. He got me my first paying gig, which was playing taps at a veteran's funeral for $10. I got paid $10 from standing behind a tree. And of all your first gigs to ever have as a trumpet player, I can't think of any of them more filled with terror than that. I mean, you could just imagine the guy laying on his deathbed saying, whatever they do, please let them play taps at my funeral, please. So you wouldn't want to, clam the note or anything like that, which I didn't, by the way. So there's all that, right? There's all that. And I'll end with this part of the Uncle Willie story. Remember, this was like 1975 or something like that. 73, 74, 75 when I was in the band. Fast forward to 2007, right? By then, Uncle Willie was long retired. His first wife had passed away. He was married again. And he was living up near Ocala, Florida, which is in central Florida. And by some random, really super great circumstance, actually it wasn't random, I quite made it happen, but I was working on my second album called True. It was produced by Will Ackerman. And at the time, I ended up working with a very well-known and awesome engineer named Bruce Swedeen. Uncle Bruce, he was also Uncle Brucey, actually, just died last year. And he was the engineer that did Count Basie and Sarah Vaughan, and a lot of the stuff for Quincy Jones, and he was the engineer on Michael Jackson's Thriller album, one of the biggest selling albums of all time. And I had reached out to Bruce to mix a couple of the songs from my album True, and we flew down, me and Corin Nelson, the engineer at the time, flew down to Ocala, which is where Bruce's studio was. He had moved down to Ocala. So we're working on the song. It's actually a song called Saturn Calling, which, as some of you may know, I'm a complete space geek. Like, I watched yesterday on NASA TV the Mars rover landing and all that stuff. And Saturn Calling actually has the sound of the auroras of Saturn at the beginning of it. And, we're there mixing it on the same board that he worked on with Michael Jackson. And I'm sitting here making notes on a quarter-inch tape box that inside of it are these pieces of paper that had Michael Jackson's doodles on them, little drawings and stuff from Michael. It was crazy. Little note to Bruce and stuff. So Uncle Willie and his wife came to the recording studio, came to Swedeen's recording studio while we were mixing Saturn Calling. And he sat there. He was obviously older by then. I think he died a few years later. But it was the most full circle, meaningful moment to, we're talking 40 some years after I had been in high school, working on my second album, my own second album, to have Uncle Willie and his wife sit there while we did that. So it was super beautiful. A few years later, he passed away, and Albert Isaac and Mark Castellano and Phyllis Drazen, forgot her last name, forgive me, organized a memorial service in the band room at Coral Gables High. And there were probably 50 of us from all the different years went there to that. And many of us still play. So they brought out the old marching songs. And we all played those, our little band that we had there in the room. It's online somewhere, actually. Albert Isaac is the one that posted it. So it's somewhere on YouTube, actually, of that day of the band playing. And Mark Castellano, who was one of the people that became a band director, was directing the band and stuff. And I got to play a little solo. It was just really beautiful. So I just wanted to share that sort of inspiration for music for me, why I still sit here, and little did I know it would lead me to Mexico on the porch of Casa Acantilado, playing for all of you at the sunset. So it was anything can happen, and as we all know, anything will. So with that, I want to tell you that I love you, even though I haven't met you, some of you, but I love you anyway, and I want you to stay safe, and I want you to tune in whenever the next one of these may be, and may wherever you are be full of sunsets like this one, even if things are covered with snow and ice. Okay? Because we all know that not very many months from now, there will be green trees, and there will be buds on the trees and buds in your bowls, if those of you do that. And soon there will be COVID under control, and it's going to be like the roaring 20s. We are going to party like friggin' rock stars. Can you imagine what it's going to feel like to go to your first concert? Like, how whenever that is, with, 5,000 screaming people. And you know what it's going to feel like to be in the band doing that? Oh, my God. Until then, peace, love, understanding, wear a mask, get your vaccine. If you don't have 5G reception, my understanding is that vaccines, because of the chips that are in them, will give all of you 5G reception. So what could be wrong with that, right? Love you guys. Have a beautiful night. Peace, love.